picture. So I start off by sketching out the cannon and then I begin inking out the cannon. You see, after you sketch the thing, you have to ink it out so you can get more polished lines. Here I'm working on the wheels of the cannon. This is a time-appropriate historical real cannon. Now I'm making a Frankenstein of golden colors to blend. After I blend all this stuff, I'm going to add some rust to it. See, I'm making it clean and now I'm adding the rust to it because it's been through lots of stuff. So we need to add the proper amount of rust to it to make it seem more real. And now I'm working on adding the smoke coming out when it's roast. I'm making that little black thing and then beginning to Gaussian blur it. Then I begin to do the same thing, make it golden and then rust it out for the other parts of the cannon. See, I'm just doing the rusting thing from that one itself, starting itself. And then I begin the wheel. I don't have to do the same thing, I just have to make it out of wood because this is a wooden wheel. And then I add stronger wood to those little pipe thingies in the center and then add a proper gradient. I try to make some black muck around it because it's the one that gets the most dirt. But it's very hard to do to make it not too black. I add the other wheel which is hiding behind the rest of the cannon. And then I begin to do the rest of it, like making the same gold principle then rust principle on the rest of the cannon, like its little steering stuff. And then I begin to blend it all together and erase the parts that are outside of the lines. I start to work on this thing which I changed a little in the sketching. Creative license, I want creative license. Now I just duplicate the cannons and I'm thinking on how to make it look perspectively correct. I start to add some more gradients of shadows for the cannons to make it seem like it's actually next to the grass, not like I just imported the grass in. Then I begin to add the proper shadows and even some shadows and moss onto the cannons itself. The moss makes it seem more real. And as I keep doing that for each one of the cannons individually, might take lots of time now, but it will be very useful when the thing is actually made. After adding up the moss and the shadows, I begin to add the proper highlights for the grass. Here you can see I'm blending together all the shadows, and here I'm adding particularly green stuff and then some darker greens on the top to make it seem more like it's fading out in the second layer. Now that I'm done, I begin to add the humans. See, when you're drawing stickman, you mostly want their backs to not be perfectly straight because it looks more real. I'm adding Habsburg correct hats. Here I'm making a general who has more free-wheeled arms and is looking out. I added the collar to show he's of high esteem. This guy teaching his lieutenant on how to shoot. And this German officer, because there were many German officers during that time, you can see from the hat. Then I add the proper gradients to make it seem more real. I add gradients to the hats, as you can see right now, dark side, and to his face itself, to make it seem more real and to make it seem like it's actually in there and not just drawn in. I begin to add shadows on where they're lying down or standing. You see, two people are already lying down, so I add shadows below them and shadows below these two guys' feet and then distort them to make a pointy little hat. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end. See you soon.